Explore your thoughts. Learn what you think you already know. We're taking you on a journey to the other side. Welcome again, everyone, to another edition of The Other Side. With me today, I have a special guest. His name is Mr. J. Callegari. He's a former chief of police in Plocherville. He's a retired game warden. He's an undergrad in criminal justice at LSUA. He has a master's in criminal justice and public administration leadership from McNeese, and a PhD in criminal justice and public administration leadership from Liberty University. He is currently a newly elected school board member from District 5 in Avoyelles Parish, and he is currently an instructor. I'm
an instructor at LSUA, and I'm also an instructor at Southern New Hampshire University.
And he's also the co-founder of the Facebook page you may have been seeing, We the People of Avoyelles Parish. So welcome, Jay. Nice to have you on.
Thank you, Lance. I appreciate it.
We're hoping to. I've been getting questions about the petition that's going on around Avoyelles Parish about trying to start a new system of government, and like I tell people, I don't want to go from something bad to something worse. So I come to you with as a unobjective. I have no opinion on it. I just want to get the information out to the Avoyelles Parish, and including for myself as well. So, briefly, in a nutshell, you and I were talking earlier on the phone, and you were explaining sort of the history of the police jury and how it was set up, where the system of government we have now versus where we would be going to. Could you briefly touch on that?
So to fully understand this, you really need a background in civics, high school civics. When we talk about the separation of powers in high school civics, and when we talk about the legislative and executive branches of government and the way our government is formed and the way democracy works. Now that's the complicated side of it. The easier side of it has to do with the system that we have in place now, which is the police jury system, which was put into place 211 years ago. This is before we had roads, before we had trash pickup, before we had government grants. It's before we had an $11 million budget to spend in the parish. It was originally only designed for tax collection and distribution, to give it to the courts and the sheriff, which worked great back then. The police jurors were elected, and they would show up for a meeting once a month, and they would disperse this money that was collected in taxes, and that's all they really had to do. We fast forward 150 years from there. In 1974 or 76, Louisiana passed a constitutional amendment which allowed parishes to form home rule charters. They did this because they realized that a new system was needed in many areas to cover some of these nuances that came with time. Your roads and your trash and your drainage and all these issues that they didn't have when the police jury system was made. So they put this in the Louisiana Constitution to allow parishes to decide if they want to switch to that. To date, 26 parishes have switched to some form of home rule charter, and the other 30-something, I think 36, are still remain in the police jury system. And that may serve some of them well. The 26 that have changed over have been moderately successful, some of them very successful in growth, economic growth, and things of that nature. Our two neighbors, St. Landry and Point Capee, have switched to a home rule charter system. So that's a little background of it. Now let me try and explain what the petition is. Because that's when you called me, you originally asked, what's this petition for?
That's right.
All this petition does is we need 10% of the voters to sign it in the parish, which comes out to about 2,500 people. What that does is it forces the police jury to allow a committee to be formed. And the way that committee's formed is in different ways. What this committee does is it meets for 9 to 18 months, and it goes through a template, and it writes a charter that's fitting to Avoyelles Parish. So in Baton Rouge Parish, they may pay their parish president $150,000. In Avoyelles Parish, that certainly would not be true, I wouldn't think. So you can form fit it. Each part of the charter that you write, you can tailor it to your parish, which is what we are asking to be done. Now, once that charter is written in that 9 to 18 months by the citizens of the parish, we can look at that charter. It'll be put out in the paper. It'll be put out online, and there'll be plenty of time for everybody to look at it and read it and debate its merits. Once it's debated, with a sufficient amount of time, it'll be put on the ballot for the voters to decide if they want to pass it and change the way we locally govern in Avoyelles Parish. If changed, if they vote for it, over 50% vote for this change, it doesn't take effect until the next election cycle. So your police jurors you have now would continue until the end of their term. And then they could run again for their own spots. It just wouldn't be called the police jury. It'd be called the parish council.
Right. So when you say we, the people, would be writing the new charter, who would be in charge of putting this group of people together? Who would be writing it, and who would be in charge of assembling that committee?
Good question, Lance. Typically, when the police jury in a parish sees that there's a group of people that want this to happen, they will take it upon themselves to get it written, just to have a decision made. So they can appoint commissioners, 7 to 11 commissioners on a group, and they will take it upon themselves to write the charter. Now, if we go to the point where we have to get all these signatures, and that has to get certified, and it goes, basically they're forced to put it on the ballot, then the way that's chosen is by ballot. So we'll have names put on the ballot to vote for, to put on the commission. And typically these people are going to be farmers, they're going to be engineers, they're going to be PhDs, they're going to be maybe a lawyer, there's going to be community leaders, maybe even current mayors and things like that would be on this commission to decide what's best for the parish when they're writing this charter.
So whenever the charter, so again, let's go back to if the petition, there's enough petitions, who do you bring that to?
We bring that to the clerk of court.
To the clerk of court
would certify it. In other words, or give it to the registrar of voters to certify it, where they would look at each name. And I have a petition right here. When the people sign it, they're going to sign it. They're going to print their name. They're going to put their year of birth, the date they signed, their ward and precinct, and then their address. And then there's going to be a witness that watches them sign it, and they're going to put the same date, obviously, because they're there watching them sign it. And that will go to make sure that there's no fraud involved. The registrar of voters will look at each name and verify that it is a registered voter in the parish that signed it.
So what would be the next step from that point on? Who becomes, I guess, in charge of the next step?
Okay. So let's say we have 2,500 signatures, and we turn them in, and that gets certified. That's what you're asking, right?
Yes.
If we do that this year, in October, names could be put on the ballot. I could go, you could go, anybody could go to the police jury and say, I want my name on the ballot to be on the commission. And the way we're assuming it works is that the 11 or 7 with the highest amount of votes would be on that commission. Typically, it doesn't happen like that. Typically, the police jury appoints people to be on this commission to write it. I don't know if that's going to happen here or not. That remains to be seen.
Okay, so it doesn't go to like a single person in charge. At that point, it goes up to the voters for people to. So we have to elect the committee people. Then once they are elected, then they are the ones that are going to begin to start writing the charter.
Correct.
Okay, so basically, if I'm understanding, after that is there would be a parish president and like a town council, but it'd be a parish council,
right.
I guess. So how would that make it different from what we currently have? We do have a police jury president, and then we have essentially the councilmen, we call them police jury members. So how would that make this governing body different, and what would be the benefits?
Okay. The way it would make it different is your parish president would be your executive branch, and your parish council, which is now your police jury, would be your legislative branch. Just like we have in every town in America, just like we have in Congress and the President of the United States, what that does is it not only adds some autonomy to the decisions being made, it puts one person squarely in charge. It puts it to where the police jury president is going to be, he or she will be put in the hot seat if a very bad decision is made, because they're there full time and they have to look everything over. So you're still going to have your same 9 districts that you have right now, which encompasses 3 majority-minority districts. You're still going to have the same areas for that. The lines will be drawn the same. They're going to go into their meeting just like they always do, and they're going to make their decisions. Now, once they make a decision, then the president can sign it over into law or policy or rule or whatever it is, or the president can veto it, just like anywhere else. Now, when the president vetoes it, it can go back to the council, and with a 2/3 vote, they can override the veto, and it becomes law, rule, or policy.
So it'd be very similar to a city. The mayor.
Almost exactly the same.
Almost exactly the same. But it could be structured different, if I'm understanding, when they write the charter. Like, what would be something different, maybe from one parish to the next?
An example would be you could change the power of the veto that the president has. You could change the way decisions are made. You could lower the power of the president. You could raise the power of the council. You can make it to where expenditures over a certain amount have to have council approval. And that's why I say it can be tailored, because our parish is small. We're rural. We don't have a lot of money compared to some of these other parishes. So we would write that charter for us, for Avoyelles. And that would be decided along the way as it's being written. And if those decisions are wrong, the people can read it and look at it and say, this is not what we want, and they vote it down. So by signing this petition, you're not putting anything into law. You're not enacting anything. You're just saying, I want to see what could be.
Right. You could vote it down or restart. Or
Correct. And I, for one, think the people of Avoyelles Parish are smart enough to read this and decide if it's good for the parish or not. They can debate it on its merits. I'm not sure why the police jury won't let that happen. And let me not say that, because some of the jurors are in favor of letting the public decide whether they want a home rule charter, and some of them are not.
So what I'm hearing is one glaring difference would be the president would be elected by the entire parish of voters, as opposed to we elect our individual districts, and the police jury members right now elect a president from there. So that would be one major difference there. The entire public would be able to vote on this one position. But with the rest of the districts, the district lines and everything, will that still be the same?
All the district lines would remain the same, because that has to be, we have to be given permission from the federal government to change those. It's important to have those minority-majority districts in a parish with our demographics, and we would keep those the same. That wouldn't, you couldn't change that without bringing in litigation, and I wouldn't want to. I don't know anybody that would want to change that. That's important to have to make it fair for everybody. But yes, the president would be elected by the entire parish. So I just ran in a nine district race in Avoyelles. In every district, there's going to be about 4,200 people in the 9 districts. So that's about roughly under 40,000 people in the parish. So when you have that, you have about 1,800 voters on average. Of those 1,800 voters, about 1,000, 1,100 are probably going to vote, because we've seen what voter turnout is. Mm-hmm. So for right now, for a police jury member to win, they need 550 votes in their district, and they can win. That's all they have to have. And they can become president of the police jury with 550 votes from their small 1/9 of the parish district. So when we put that into perspective of the president would need half of all the voters in Avoyelles Parish. 24,000 voters in Avoyelles Parish, 12,000 regularly vote. They need over 6,000. Mm-hmm. So whenever there's a problem, whenever there's an issue where it's controversial, let's say, and it goes before the board and goes before the council, and the council makes a decision on it, the president, when he decides whether he's going to veto it or whether he's going to sign it, he has to think about everybody in the entire parish, not just that one little small 1/9 district with the 500 people he needs to vote for him, right? So if there's a drainage issue that goes from, because the water doesn't know where the lines are between districts, if there's a drainage issue and one police juror wants something, the other doesn't want to spend it because it's not going to affect him, and so on and so forth, the president can look at that from a parish-wide aspect and make decisions based on what's best for everybody, not just their 1/9, one small little area of the parish. And that's one of the reasons why we think this is a better way to go.
And the president, that would be a full-time job as opposed to the once a month or once a week, whatever it is?
The parish president would go into work every day. They would make decisions for the voters. They would, I'm not running for parish president, but if I was,
Right.
I would go sit in that permit office all the spare time I had, and I would help solve problems. If somebody came in and wanted to open a business in Avoyelles, I would do it. Had to be done in that permit office until they were able to legally start their business, rather than people having to go back and forth. And that's just an example. If there was a drainage issue and you were full time and you were there, and you could go to Baton Rouge during legislature and talk to the legislators, say this will affect my whole parish, and I speak for my whole parish, not just a few hundred people, right?
Right.
He speaks for the whole parish, and they say, well, we're Republicans or we're Democrats, and we may be running for statewide offices. We need somebody. We want the people of Avoyelles. We want to give them something to be on our side, basically. And they're not going to do that for a police juror with one district. They're going to do that for a parish-wide president. He's going to have their ears when he goes asking for money and grants and projects.
Another question that I'm sure would be one of the first things to be asked would be money. Will there be any more taxes right out of the gates? Do we need more tax revenues to get this kicked off, or will it operate basically as is now with the funds that are there, but it's just everything's just the governing body would just be restructured?
The actual answer to that remains unseen because the charter has not been written. So that's been kind of the argument about this is, how can we afford to pay a president that much money? And the answer is, we don't know how much we're paying the president. We're going to write it up in the charter, and we're going to see how much we're paying him. It could be surmised easily that the other police jurors, the 9 police jurors, they make $800-something a month. Their salaries would probably go way down. So would their responsibilities. They would get paid to go to their meetings, but their salaries would probably go way down. That's just the way it is. You would use that to help pay for the president. You could eliminate or at least take responsibility from other positions to help pay for the president. But this does not involve proposing a tax for this. No.
Jay, you mentioned earlier that some police jury members were in support of it. Have they come publicly with it, or is it just kind of they told you in the back? And if so, can you say who they are?
I don't want to speak for them, but there is. So we have a core group. Myself, the chairman and vice chairman are Glenn Gudo and Jesse Lochnay. I'm just part of the group, and I help speak for the group. I've been asked to, and that's what I'm doing. But between myself and the chairman and vice chairman and several of our core members, we have spoken to 4 members of the police jury that are in favor of letting the people decide if they want to switch to a home rule charter and having the charter written. They're not saying they're in favor of the charter. I'm not in favor of the charter. It hasn't been written yet. How could I be in favor of it or against it? I just want the right to be able to look at it, to be able to write it, have it written, and see if it's better for our parish. And 4 of these jurors have said that. Kirby Roy, who is the president of the police jury, has come out against it, and that's his right to do that. And I haven't heard from any of the other members of the police jury personally. But I'll let them come out. I know several of them have made public statements, either online or in the public, and I'll let them talk for themselves. I don't want to speak for anybody else.
Right, absolutely. Has there been anyone else, any local politicians? Has this been brought up to, say, our state representative or our state senator or anything? And do they have a thought on it? And of course, you don't want to speak for them, but if they're public with it yet?
So, including myself, we have several people on our. I'm not calling it a board. It's just our core group that meets and talks about this and gives each other advice. That are public officials, that are elected public officials. I know of 3, and there may be more that I'm not thinking of that's in our group. But yeah, our state representative has signed the petition. He said he would like for the parish to be able to choose which direction they want to go. And that's typically everywhere you go, every politician will say that. They want the people to be able to decide. I mean, that's who put them in office. They want the people to have the decision, and they think the people are smart enough to do it. And I'm assuming there has been others that have signed it. I just haven't read every name. We have a lot of the names that are in, a lot of the petitions that are in the office, and I just haven't looked at them all. And we've got probably 700 more signatures out there that I need to collect this week.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, the petition itself, if there's enough signatures, that petition will not overthrow our police jury,
Not at
and day one is going to start this new system of governing.
Not at all.
That's just to get it to be able to elect someone to write a charter and then vote on the charter, and we can always vote that down, however long that process is, and still end up with what we have currently.
Right.
Right. So the
And if the police jury would appoint a committee, and this is a non-paid committee, if the police jury would appoint them, it would cost the voters nothing. It would cost the taxpayers zero to look at this. Now, if we have to go through this process with the petition, then the police jury has to pay for an election to elect commissioners, which is somewhat costly. And if it's going to happen anyway, I don't see why they wouldn't want to appoint commissioners to get this done. But that's up to them. That's their choice.
So what are some of the things you're hearing maybe from the police jury members, the ones that are opposed to it? What's their perspective? Why do they not? I'm just trying to get like all of the pros, all of the cons, and let the Avoyelles Parish people decide where they can feel comfortable.
And I can go over a few of those because they were printed in the paper, so I'm not making this up. This was the police jury president writes a weekly report, and I read it every week. And some of the concerns, and I have them. I've put rebuttals to two of them, and they're on our Facebook page called "We the People of Avoyelles Parish." Not "We the People of Avoyelles." I got to add "parish" on the end. The picture is going to be sign the petition when you go to it, so you can read those rebuttals to that. But I'll talk about a couple of them. One of them has been that why would we want to put so much power in one person's hands to be president of the police jury? And my rebuttal to that is simply, do you disagree that we should have mayors in every town in America? Do you think we should drop all the mayors right now? There should be nobody running those cities. The council should meet once a month to run those towns. Obviously, that's ridiculous, right? So I don't think it would be too much power. It would balance the power out between the legislative and executive branch. So that's kind of the answer to that. And like I said, you have to have a little bit of a civics background to understand that. Another one was that the absorbent pay that the parish president would be making, which I've already covered that. We don't know what the parish president would be making until it's written. The parish president in Point Capee makes $65,000 a year. He's a retired engineer. He's built roads his whole life. He's happy with that. I imagine Avoyelles would have probably something similar. Another question that they had was, let's see, I just had it in my head.
I have them pulled up here. The viewers can see it. There's will there still be 9 districts? We talked about that. Will the president have too much power? You just addressed that. Will this type of local government change our permit system, road conditions, garbage contract, revenues, OEP, courthouse, court system?
And I just think the full-time management of an elected official over those departments can only increase their efficiency rather than somebody who's not there every day. And that was kind of my answer to that. Another one, which I want to touch on, is it's been said that this would reduce the minority influence in the parish. And I really want to try to explain this where it can be understood, because that's actually not true at all. So right now we have 9 districts, right? And we have 3 majority-minority districts. If there's a controversial issue, normally you're going to have the 3 minority districts and 1 of the majority districts vote one way and 5 the other, if it's controversial. So that's a 5-4 vote, right? And I'm not going to say it could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So let's say you had that controversial vote, 5-4. The minority districts and the one that would probably side with them loses. They would lose that. It would be over at that point, right?
Right.
Those minority districts would lose it. Well, under a parish president council, that issue, once it's gone, would go to, once it's passed, would go to the president. Well, the president, he or she, has a 35% minority population in Avoyelles Parish. They essentially need a portion of those 35% votes to win another election, to win their next election. Without that, they could win, but I guarantee you another candidate is going to come along who has the sympathy of the majority-minority districts, and they're going to get those votes, and they're going to get over 50% of that vote. So if that president, every time there's a controversial decision, votes against the majority-minority districts, they will not stay in office. They just won't. They'll get voted out. Another person will come along and be elected who does sympathize with the minority districts. And that's simple political science. Now, what Kirby is saying and what some of the other people are saying is that we don't want this because a black could never be elected president of the police jury if this happens. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. But even if that were true, even if it were true, then you still have that influence of those 35% of voters, which a parish president needs a good portion of to win. To win that election, he needs a good portion of that. So just by default, having this system puts more power in the hands of the minority districts than they have right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying, I mean, you can see it every day in the national politics or whatever. You know, you have to, you know, presidents and or candidates, should I say, they're campaigning and with this minority group or that group or this group. You know, you can't just you have to. You need the votes. You know,
Right.
you can't win if you don't get X percent of the minority vote. So by this way, it would, I guess, make them matter more is what you're saying. Not only because of votes, it will make the elected president, let's say, pay attention more to these. And
he would not have to necessarily. He would have to cater to them, but he would certainly have to keep that in mind when he's making a controversial vote.
Right, they would have to be. Everyone would have to be every bit as inclusive,
right,
as the next group.
Because right now you just have your districts, and the 3 of them are majority minority, and those will usually elect somebody who is of color. But there's also in the other 6 districts, there's minorities that live there, and they vote too, and they would vote for the president too, and he would have to have their ear.
Right, it would have to be included to it'd have to be focused on it. It'd have to be equally because you need the votes from it, like you said. You have to get the votes.
I can only say that would increase minority influence within the parish under that system. Whether a black could be elected to that position or not, it increases that influence.
I believe, my opinion, I believe the right candidate. I think nowadays, in general, people are voting more for the candidate and not necessarily for race. I mean, we elected Obama and
Sure.
and everything. I think the right person comes along, you know, right character and stuff. I think anybody could be elected.
I just won my election in a minority-majority district.
Oh, really? Oh, and congratulations, by the way. Is this the first office you've ever ran for?
Definitely. I retired about 7 years ago, and I went back to school and finished a PhD and became interested in local politics and especially local education because that's what I do now.
Right.
I'm a college professor, so that's why I ran for that. But I did run, and it was 53.8% majority minority in that district, and I went from house to house, and I won handily with 63% of the vote. And I think the people realized that you don't have to be a certain color to champion a cause. I don't have to be a drug addict to champion a cause to fight to help people get off drugs. I don't have to be a Holocaust survivor to fight to make people believe that the Holocaust existed. I don't have to be black to fight for the rights of black people. You just don't, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that resonated with the voters, and I attribute that to me winning.
So now it's fair to say you are officially a politician.
I
Since you ran
guess,
for
yeah.
that seat.
Maybe not for long. I don't know.
So, there are going to be people that are going to ask, the only reason this is being created is so that you were planning on running for president of it or whatever. Or are you planning on running for that position?
I can tell you definitely I'm not. In fact, I would like to be on the commission that helps write the charter. As an academic writer, I think I could help. I could put my 2 cents in and help it. The people who are on the commission cannot run for one of the offices they create. So the people on the commission do not get paid, and they cannot run for either council or president.
So you're not doing it for personal gains.
No, there's no. I'm not gaining anything from this except that my children and grandchildren may live in a better place that thrives later on when I'm gone.
Right. Jay, so how did this all come about? So here we are with the petitions and this talk. It seemed like y'all are gaining steam, and you seem like on the forefront, I guess, sort of in charge, pushing it. You're on the Face group page and everything, which the viewers were seeing it earlier. How did this come to be? How did it start? How did you become so involved? How did it go?
In 2016, there was a push to do this. The current chairman and co-chairman, Glenn Gudo and Jesse Lochnay, pushed to do this, and they got 500 or 600 signatures, and they really didn't have a base of support for it at the time. Nobody was really helping them. But it's been in the background ever since, wanting to make a change. We've seen that in Baton Rouge, these parishes that have presidents go and lobby for their parishes, and they get money for them, and they get projects for them. I recently conducted a political focus group with some members of the parish who were adamant that they wanted to try to get this done again, to change the way we do business in Avoyelles, to change the old system to a newer one. Not necessarily to change the people. This is not against the men of the police jury. This is against the system that is antiquated and needs revamping. But it kind of really came to a head with this last year's tax proposal that the police jury put on the ballot, and come to find out there was not a full-time man there to be responsible for, man or woman, to be responsible for making sure these numbers were right. And it can. I won't go through the process of how it came out that the numbers weren't right, but we were kind of hoodwinked with this, and we ended up voting against it after the public realized that the numbers that the police jury said were there were not there. They were something else, and we were being overtaxed. So it kind of, the old group kind of got back together, and I'm helping them with it. And we have a bunch of new members who are helping out, people from all over the parish, people with influence, people who know people that can talk and explain this, to get this petition signed, just so we can see what we can do. We can see what can be different. And that's kind of how it got started this time, or restarted, let me say.
Right. I had Kirby on. I call him Coach Roy. He's been our coach from in high school and everything else, to talk about the taxes and stuff. And again, it was an unbiased setting, just like this. I'm not. I want you to get your message out, and sure. Same as that. Until he came, he gave his side of the argument and everything else. And if he or someone else who opposes it would want to come on the program, if y'all are watching this, I'd be more than happy to have a fair discussion. Bring your cons against it, because that's all I want as a citizen and also as a podcast host is just to have fair and balanced. The name of the podcast is The Other Side. Okay, so we like getting the other side, some things that you may not know about, that you may not be popular. So we want to get all the information from all sides to and let the people of the parish vote for it and make their decisions. So if anybody would want to come on to discuss, that would be great.
I heard a saying the other day. I was in some training, and they said we can disagree on something without both of us having to be right.
Right.
And I think that would be kind of what we would do if we would do that. We would we can disagree on it, and both of us don't have to be right. We can be partially right, partially wrong, or whatever. But no, I love Kirby. He's a friend of mine. We've been friends for many, many years. We just happen to disagree on this one issue, and at the end of the day, I'll definitely still be friends with him. It's not that personal at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's the same as here in this podcast. I'm not one of these that are hardcore journalists or anything. I'm just a citizen. I'm just a guy. That's right. And I want this platform to give way to information, just like we're doing. No one really reads the paper anymore. People are really doing podcasts. Personally, I do. You can listen to it while you're driving. It's just a conversation we're having back and forth. There's nothing intense. There's, right. It's a pretty comfortable setting. Jay, is there anything else you would like to add?
Is there any other of those cons that you had in front of you, or questions that I can clarify? I don't know if we were done with that yet.
Let's see. I think we.
I do remember one that I was thinking of. In the paper last week, Kirby put that there'd be no need for a treasurer anymore, and no need for a manager, parish manager on the road. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think you definitely need a treasurer. But anyway, when those things are put in the paper and they're written like that, it's nonsensical, because, as I've said many times, the charter hasn't been written. We don't know that. It's almost like a scare tactic to say, you're going to lose these positions, you're going to lose your job if you support this, we're going to have to pay too much, it's all going to be bad for us, when we don't know yet. The petition is not to make that change. The petition is to let us see what that change will be. Anything else?
To me, it seemed like a treasurer would be something, kind of a necessity.
Sure.
It wouldn't. I guess it would have to be written before we could see what's,
Right.
not to sound like Nancy Pelosi and say, let's pass it to see what's in it or anything.
No,
but
we won't pass it.
yeah,
We'll look
we
at
have
it, then
to-
we'll pass it.
Yeah, we have to do it the right
Or
way,
not.
see what's in it, and then decide if we pass it or not.
And I may vote against it if it's written and I don't like it and I don't think it's good for the parish. I'm not saying I'd vote for it right now because it hasn't been written. There's no way to know.
Right. I'm trying to go back to those questions. It looks like that was all of them, but if we click here, there's a let's see. And
Hey, look, if anybody wants some more information, and we have about as of today, we have a little over 1,500 members on the Facebook page. If anybody wants some more information, you can scroll through that, and there's videos, and there's writings, and there's people asking questions, and it's a complicated process that may take a little while for everybody to understand, and that's kind of our challenge with getting this signed. Is you can't spend 45 minutes explaining to everybody like I've done to you. It would take you
Right.
forever. So we have a group of core members that are going out and they're explaining to as many people as they can, and then they're getting other people to take a blank sheet and get it signed. So if anybody wants to join the group and wants to help out and wants to see what could be, they can contact me on the group and we'll get them some blank sheets and they can get them signed. Do you have the list on there of the current businesses that
we
have blank petitions?
let's see.
Should be one of the last things I posted.
All right. Let me go back to here.
So you can go almost in any town. There's a business that's open all day that will have a blank petition for you to sign.
Looks like there's Dubrock Tire.
Dubrock Tire and
Auto.
Bunkie is the old Gill's Body Shop. It's behind the chicken place back there.
And I'm trying to see here. Okay, yeah, there. What's the you can't see what this doesn't have a name for this picture here.
But there should be a list I just put on there, like a list in a list.
Right.
Hold on, I know I texted them to somebody.
I'm
so.
scrolling through and I'm not.
Okay,
not
I got the
seeing
current
it.
locations here. So we got Don's Pharmasave on Tunica. That's right across from Panorama Foods, right?
Right.
We have Stevens Restaurant on Tunica. That's that seafood restaurant, the crawfish restaurant, where the old Sonic was. We have Carrie's on Highway 1. You can walk in there and ask Carrie. You can talk to Carrie about his time in Allen Parish.
How far down did you scroll? I'm way down. I'm seeing like bits and
It
pieces.
should have been first. Look, it should list. It should look like that. That's kind of what I copied and pasted to it. Should be one of the last ones I post. I can't open my Facebook with the signal here.
There are current locations. Okay. Yeah, I got to click on see more. Yeah. Okay, I got it right here pulled up so they can see. I wanted them. It's instead of hearing it, they can see it.
Right.
Or I can at least follow it while you're
Right.
saying if you want to introduce.
So we
who's
got
doing it.
Carrie's on Highway 1, and Mr. Dozat in there has had dealings with this type of system in Allen Parish when he was there, and he can tell you the benefits of it from when he was in Allen Parish and how he all of a sudden got things done with drainage that he could never get done before when they had the police jury system. We got the Red River Farm Supply. You can go talk to Mr. Kim Wiley in there. He'll talk to you about it. That's near the school,
Yeah,
Lafargue.
just past Lafargue on the right.
And just recently, Lolo's Naturals, Mr. Blood, I think, texted me, and we'll have some blank petitions there. That's in Bunkie across from the car dealership. Bayou Express in Cottonport now has blank petitions. I think the guy's name is Larry. He has a sign out front that says sign the petition. And I have an office across from Jenny Claire's in Mansura, 8373. It's where I do my consulting from and where I do my teaching from a lot of. So if you see me there, I'm not always there. I'm at places like this. But if I'm there, you can stop and have a cup of coffee and we can sign the petition. We need locations in places like Moorville, Plocherville, maybe another one in Cottonport, Fifth Ward, Bruyette, and Simpsport. So if you're a business owner or you know a business owner who wants to let the public see what a charter would look like, we can drop you off a blank one. We'll drop you off a clipboard like this, and you can just keep it behind the desk there. When somebody comes in asking to sign, you can let them sign. And
of course, you can share this podcast with all of your buddies, and anyone has questions. Hopefully somewhere in this podcast there might be an answer for your question.
And if not, you can certainly ask it on Facebook, and I'll collect the questions and answer them the best I can.
So if someone messages you direct, do you are able to respond within?
I typically respond pretty quickly unless I'm in the middle of something, but I typically respond quickly.
Okay. You have anything else, Jay?
Man, I don't think so. I'm sure we're missing something.
Yeah, I'm pretty
but,
sure as soon as this ends, we'll
yeah,
be
we'll
like,
be
oh,
thinking of
dang.
something.
You know?
But no, I just want your listeners to know that there may be a better way, and I want to see it. A lot of people want to see it. It's not an us against them. It's an us helping them to be a better us and them, which is what I put in the paper last week. So it's not supposed to be adversarial. This is supposed to be a legislative process or a community process that goes on to create a legislative process. And I'd advise you to look into it yourself. Go online and do a search on it and read. I'm sure there's cons to everything. This is a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. And even when it does happen, it's not going to show the benefit right away. Like I said, it may be 12, 16 years from now to see really good benefit from this. But I think the economic growth, the growth in the way we do business here in Avoyelles, the way we conduct our politics is going to change. I think it's already changing, and I think this will make it better, just from my standpoint. So just go have a look and see what you think.
Yeah, here in Avoyelles Parish, there's not a whole lot. We don't have we have a radio station, a newspaper. There's not like a TV or something, and a lot of people, myself included, I'm part of the parish, with information sometimes is, I don't want to know. And so I'll try to stay informed myself. A lot of people call and ask me, well, how do I vote for these amendments or those, or how do we do this? So that's
and they
why
want an unbiased look at it. They don't want somebody to tell them what to do.
Right, yeah.
They want to make their own decision based on information.
Exactly. And this is a perfect time. They can sit down, listen to this. And
this podcast is awesome, man. I'm a fan now. I'll be listening, and I'll pass it on to my friends and kids and whoever wants to listen. For
sure. I sure appreciate it. Well, Jay, I sure appreciate you coming on the program. I think it was very helpful and informative. I think it'll be shared, and good luck with your getting your message out and everything. And we'll touch back up maybe in a few months or whenever, or if there's some kind of new change or something, just contact me. We can schedule you on the program.
Cool.
And we can do that. All right, everyone. Well, there you have it. Mr. J. Callegari. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for tuning in to The Other Side.
I wanna be